Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Picture the grandest stage in global sports, under the brightest floodlights with billions of people watching. Think about this. Out of the 211 FIFA member nations, a mere 8 countries have ever won the Men's World Cup. 8! It's literally the ultimate monopoly. We're talking about the exact same names reigning supreme, generation after generation. It's an unbroken, fiercely protected dynasty that has literally defined football history.
But what if we're about to flip the script? Seriously, what if the next World Cup champion has never won it before? Imagine the absolute shockwaves that would send across the globe. You know the hierarchy of international football is incredibly rigid, right? So when a tournament of this magnitude completely shatters the historical status quo, it doesn't just make for a cool underdog story, it completely reshapes the future of the sport.
Let's kick things off with Chapter 1, the exclusive elite club.
For nearly a century, a tiny group of footballing elite has fiercely guarded the ultimate prize. You've got Italy emerging as a powerhouse in the 1930s, right? Then Brazil and Germany building these sprawling empires by the 50s. The 70s brought us the rise of Argentina. The 90s welcomed France, and then finally Spain joined the ranks in the 2010s. We're looking at a handful of nations just passing the sport's greatest prize back and forth. It's so notoriously difficult to break into this upper echelon that even legendary teams like the Netherlands, who have reached multiple finals, have been completely locked out of this airtight club for nearly 100 years.
But here's the thing, every empire eventually faces a challenge. Today, those traditional powers are starting to see the drawbridge to their elite club under serious siege. We're actually watching the cracks form in real time. I mean, just look at Croatia battling their way to the final in 2018, or Morocco's historic, totally precedent-shattering run to the semifinals in 2022. These aren't just flukes, guys. They're undeniable proof that this long-entrenched history of dominance is facing an unprecedented test on the global stage.
Moving on to Chapter 2, why 2026 changes everything.
So, the 2026 tournament in North America expands to 48 teams and a staggering 104 matches. And let's be clear, this isn't just a minor format tweak. It completely scrambles the traditional formula for winning. We're talking about a massive geographic spread across 3 immense countries, the United States, Mexico, and Canada. This means testing player endurance with thousands of miles of air travel between games. That extreme physical toll mathematically increases the chances of upsets. Add in the unprecedented global growth of the sport, plus the intensely amplified pressure on favorites to survive this new, grueling gauntlet, and well, you've got the perfect storm for disruption.
Because 2026 isn't just a date on the calendar, it's a massive tipping point. When the tournament expands to this kind of scale, the highly controlled environments that historically favor established empires start to break down. The sheer chaos of a sprawling, continent-wide competition leaves the door wide open for hungry, rising nations to smash through barriers that have stood for decades. Which brings us to Chapter 3, the rise of new powers. Historically, the giants held a total monopoly on infrastructure and development. But today, that gap is vanishing fast. Rising nations aren't just crossing their fingers and hoping for a lucky generation of players anymore. They're building state-of-the-art facilities. Take Morocco's Mohammed VI Academy, which is turning out world-class talent, or the explosive, super-calculated growth of youth systems in the United States and Japan. These challengers aren't relying on just passion. They're armed with elite, innovative tactical preparation that totally rivals and sometimes even surpasses the legacy systems of the old guard. But you know, this shift isn't just physical. It's deeply psychological. Think about it. For a traditional giant, anything short of lifting the trophy is viewed as a catastrophic national failure. That creates a suffocating burden of historical expectations. On the flip side, the challengers are fueled by a fearless, growing belief. Nations that once just dreamed of participating now genuinely believe they can win the whole thing. In a tournament defined by the absolute finest of margins, that psychological freedom and fearless belief changes the entire dynamic on the pitch.
Now let's look at Chapter 4, the vulnerability of giants.
History proves time and time again that the favorites are highly susceptible to catastrophic failure when the lights are the brightest. We've repeatedly seen defending champions just completely collapse in the group stages because the pressure to repeat becomes totally toxic. When you're carrying the crushing weight of an entire nation's expectations, greatness can fracture. Uncharacteristic defensive errors creep in, superstars suddenly miss penalties they'd normally bury blindfolded, and unexpected injuries can derail a hyper-focused campaign in a matter of days. The Giants are absolutely not invincible.
All right, Chapter 5, Anatomy of a Historic Upset. There's a saying you hear a lot. World Cups are not always won by the most talented team. And it's a profound reality of tournament football. A rising nation stepping onto the pitch against a historical powerhouse might not have a roster packed with famous, globally recognized superstars, but they can absolutely be the most unified, the most meticulously conditioned, and the most fearless team out there. Supreme preparation and absolute tactical discipline routinely neutralize raw talent.
And this psychological edge, it translates into a ruthless tactical formula. To actually pull off a shocker, rising nations usually execute 3 steps perfectly. First, suffocating disciplined defending that frustrates the giants and safely absorbs wave after wave of pressure. Second, lightning-fast counterattacks that violently punish the favorites the exact second they overcommit forward. And finally, mastering the penalty shootout, the ultimate equalizer. Because when it comes down to pure nerve from the penalty spot, historical hierarchy vanishes entirely and extreme preparation takes over.
Which leads us to Chapter 6, the next great empire.
We are talking about a moment that will literally rupture football history. Sure, every World Cup writes a new chapter, but a first-time champion lifting that glowing trophy, that changes the entire story. The exclusive club's doors will finally be kicked wide open. The global power dynamic will shift permanently, proving to billions of fans that the next great football empire has finally arrived.
So, I've got to ask, which nation do you think could become football's next first-time World Cup champion? With the tournament expanding to an unprecedented scale and the talent gap shrinking by the minute, the board is perfectly set for a revolution. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep your eyes on the pitch, folks, because the era of the old giants might already be over.